For the past 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, Nigeria has been having challenges that are beckoning and waiting for answers and solutions. That is why we are bringing to you our program, State of the Nation. And this is going to come up on our flagship program this morning on ITV. I am hereby inviting you to join me, Bola Bakare, your host, on State of the Nation, so that we can hasten the motions that brings national development. It's going to be a regular basis on Tuesdays. Make it a date with me. I'll be there waiting for you, and then we shall discuss Nigeria on an holistic level. You're still on to your lofty program, State of the Nation, where we hasten the motions for national development, of which you're part of it. On this discussion segment, we are going to delve into what breeds our future leaders, what makes our children knowledgeable, what gives them the education that they need. I normally say one thing, that when it comes to education, we're talking in terms of primary and secondary. That is where you get educated. Little wonder you do between 10 and 14 subjects. That is where you get educated. And when you move from that level to tertiary institutions, that is what I call specialization. That is no little wonder. Your 14, 15 subjects you are doing gets reduced to maybe 2 or 3. That is where you get specialized. But this morning, we are going to discuss a factor that is important so that we do not end up churning out paper graduates who know nothing short of the paper they are handling. What am I saying here? Proliferation of tertiary institutions, which is the situation we have in Nigeria as we speak. Let me give us the facts and figures. As we speak, we have 170 universities in Nigeria. Of these 170, 79 of them are private universities. 43 of them are federal universities. 48 of them are state universities. Not minding the other level, which as we speak is at par with them, polytechnics. As we speak, we have 17 federal polytechnics and a few others, colleges of education here and there. But the thing we are particular about is that element of proliferation of tertiary institutions. Are they too many? Are they too few? We will get a full gist. And that is why I have with me in the studio this morning Dr. Austin Maho. Welcome.
Bola, always a pleasure.
The same here, same here,
yeah,
same here.
Thank you.
My brother here is a resource person of the International Institute of Journalism. Not only is he in the media, he knows what is happening. He talks about what is happening. He educates the populace about what is happening. And I can tell you one thing for free this morning, he's going to educate us. And I am rest assured you're going to educate us.
Yeah, let's hope we should be able to do that. And look at the issue dispassionately,
Thank you very much.
Look at both sides of the divide and be able to reach a conclusion. Of course, with your moderation, effective moderation.
That's good, my brother. Now you've had my opening. We've talked in terms of 170 universities and counting. Because on a daily basis, you still find states, you still find individuals, private individuals, trying to get their licenses from NUC to set up universities. I'll remind you the numbers I gave to you earlier. Private universities are 79. Federal universities are 43. State universities are 48, making it 170. And there are still more applying. My brother, are we in trouble or are we on the right path?
Yeah, the numbers you give, actually they look humongous.
Okay.
It's large.
All right.
But again, we need to equally pay attention to the number of students on a yearly basis seeking admission into institutions of higher learning in the country.
That's true.
The latest figure from JAM shows that there are about 2 million on a yearly basis, at least within the last 5 years.
On the average?
On the average, about 2 million applicants
are seeking to get into
admission into
university.
Yeah, into university. Higher institutions, not just universities.
Polytechnics, colleges of education,
and all that, which is under the purview of the National University Commission. Out of these 2 million students that are seeking admission into federal institutions, higher institutions, JAM can only give admission, or the schools, the 170 institutions you are talking about, can only give admission to about 200,000. Some figures gives us about 600,000 into university. But when you look at all of it across board, can only give admission to about 600,000.
Even if we so
the question is, what happens to the others? Are you going to now truncate the ambition to seek higher education? Or should we create more opportunities for them? Or is it that the number of universities, the 170 we talked about, are not enough? Don't equally forget that while we are trying to, through these schools, provide tertiary education for these students, a good number of school leavers in Nigeria seeking higher education, they still go outside this country. They go to neighboring countries. They go to Europe. They go to America to go and seek higher education.
That's true.
So the numbers we have may not be a true reflection. When you add all this, the 200,000, 2 million applicants may actually be more than that when you factor in those seeking admission in Ghana, in Benin, in Niger.
Even in Niger?
Even as low as you think Niger is, you understand? So these are the issues. So in discussing a topic of this magnitude, we have to look at it across board. Is it that there is proliferation of institutions, or is it that the quality is low?
That is my next question. You're just following my trajectory of thought, because you've been able to tell us Nigerians now that even at that 170, with an admission-seeking crowd of 2 million, in other words, it's just simple arithmetic. That 170 might not be enough to take in 2 million. But at the same time, it brings to the fore the question you were trying to get into. What about the quality of the education? And another factor I'm looking at is this. Take, for instance, maybe some of the old universities like Nsukka, like Ibadan, like Lagos.
The first generation
universities. Why is it that they cannot take more? I have an advantage of maybe going to school outdoors. You will find universities with a student population of 40,000. Why can't we have that here? So that element of the teaching capacity, the capabilities of those universities will be given to the people, rather than creating multiple...
a proliferation of universities.
Rather than having that proliferation.
As it seems. So the question comes down to, like you are trying to say, it's not that we don't have enough universities. It's the capacity of this university to absorb more applicants. I think that's, when you say the devil is in the detail, you think you have so many universities, but what is the actual capacity of this university to absorb applicants in such a way that you have 2 million applicants and you can only admit
maybe 25 or 30% of them,
even less than that? So what happened to the others? So there's a need, and this has, at the core of this is the perennial battle between the Academic Staff Union of Universities and the federal government. The Academic Staff Union of University, for instance, has consistently said that, look, university funding in Nigeria is almost at a zero level. They are not getting enough funding.
It's abysmal.
It's abysmal. It's low. They are not getting enough funding.
Do you think
the university system,
where you are getting
in terms of facility, in terms of staff welfare,
and capability,
in terms of employing more staff,
so we can increase the student strength, the number of students.
So a situation whereby you now have one lecturer. I'm very familiar with what is happening in the University of Abuja, for instance.
Okay.
Where you have one lecturer, one single lecturer, supervising about 100 students.
That's killing.
It's killing.
It's killing.
Or teaching about 500 students in one semester.
That's absurd.
When the script of the exam comes in, at times I go to visit some of my friends in the University of Abuja, you see a heap of script he needs to mark. You know, all over his office. I'm like, how do you cope? How many days or weeks is it going to take you before you mark this script? And added to that, you look at another corner, you see a heap of projects.
Wow. From
students, undergraduate, masters, PhD level that he needs to supervise. So how does he cope with all that? So at the end of the day, you find out that for him to be able to measure up, to meet her, you start cutting corners. You pick it. You know that for you to mark a script, a script properly, one script, it may take you between 15 to 20 minutes. Or more.
Depending on the...
Yes, on the subject area. But at the end of the day, if you now start spending, because you want to catch up with time, you start spending 2 minutes marking a script. Or you are supervising a student. And you need to interface with that student at least...
One-on-one.
One-on-one. Time, give the student time, an hour, 2 in a week. And you have about 200 students to supervise. Undergraduate, masters, PhD. How do you cope? These are the issues. Okay. And this is what reduces quality. When you talk about quality of education.
No, it's true.
It brings it to the very, to the lowest limit. So each time, what plays out is, what most people don't know is that when students are seeking admission into University of Abuja, for instance, which I'm familiar with, each department will always write back to the committee set up for admission to say, look, we can only take XYZ number of students. Each department. So you now find out that the school itself is restricted. Their hands are tied. They can't take more than a certain number of students that they can handle. So they write back. So you cannot force them to now admit the quantum of students which they cannot deal with, even when the one they are dealing with already, their hands are full.
It's a stress in itself.
Yes, it's too much. So these are the issues that the government need to look into. There's shortage of manpower, a shortage of equipment to work with, and of course the lecturers themselves, they are not adequately motivated in such a way that many people are out there who may want to go into academics, but they are not encouraged to go into it because the pay is low, it's stressful, you understand, you don't get grants for research, so many issues. Okay. So at times you can argue that, look, there's proliferation of universities.
But at the same time,
the proliferation we are seeing in the Nigerian situation is more political. It's political. Every state governor wants to have,
a university
want to have 1 or 2 universities without paying attention.
Most probably in his village.
Yes. Like you have the Kogi State government.
No inferences to anybody.
Okay. Recently, Kogi State is trying to set up another university. Whereas we university already in Ayangba. So the question is it being adequately funded? If it is adequately funded, you can expand. You say, let's expand the facilities in this school.
Thank you.
So that you can admit more students.
Thank you.
A situation whereby we are setting up universities for political reasons, that's where the issue is. That's where you have so much numbers without commensurate quality.
I am looking at this from the angle of what you said, that ASU is on the path of telling the FG that, look, we are incapacitated. We don't have enough manpower. We don't have enough wherewithal to be able to carry on that element of educating our kids. You even give us a life experience, which is something you're conversant with in the University of Abuja. But the thing is, I am still a little bit about that element of proliferation. Why don't we employ more people into the academia? Is there a problem in employing people into the academia, or is it the problem that we I don't want to envisage, I'm a positive thinker. I don't want to envisage a problem until I get there. Why can't we have more people in the academia to take care of those figures of one lecturer marking scripts this high, so that the man doesn't go crazy?
Yes, because many of them are going crazy.
Yeah, that's a fact.
They are going crazy. Because if you know what it takes to mark a script with your eyes, longhand, not typewritten script,
and you are reading different structures of writings.
That's why they talk about, mostly you find them when there's this argument release of fund, they're always talking about end allowances. End allowances has to do with the hours you have to put into mark script. The lecturer and every lecturer is supposed to be paid for doing that, but the funds are not coming. So that is why I'm emphasizing. Why is I have people,
you are educating me now. To teach in class is different from to mark the scripts.
Yes, when you mark more than a certain level.
Okay, that is the education Nigerians are listening to.
So you need to earn some allowances.
Just like overtime in other endeavors.
Or when you supervise more than
a specific number of okay.
Yeah. So there's some allowances that goes with that.
Okay. But the element is...
But me and you know that government and ASU, they are at war over...
On a regular basis.
Yes, over earned allowances, which was one of the issues that came up in the last strike. Until today, the federal government has not resolved that issue of earned allowances.
I guess they're still negotiating.
Yes, this is back and forth.
They're still negotiating.
Of course, we know that ASU recently threatened that they may go on strike, in December. I hope it doesn't happen. But the point is this: it has to do with funding of tertiary institutions. There is proliferation, no doubt, but the point is,
even with the ones that are existing that we clamor for,
what the federal government should be paying attention to is, especially the federal and state universities. They should look at capacity, quality. They should look at you mentioned it, of course. When you say a school, why can't we even have a school like the first generation universities, the IFES, the UNILAG,
the
Nsuka, Amadu,
ABU. Why can't they have 40,000 each?
Why can't even 50,000? Why don't they have the capacity to be able to absorb 50,000 students?
Because 50,000 times those four will take care of those 200 we are talking about. Not talk of the remaining 70. No.
So that is the real issue. And you made mention of why is government not employing more academics to be able to take care of, to reduce the workload of an average lecturer.
You have an insight into that, educators, please?
The issue is simple. It's like I said, when you have a lecturer, for instance, who is not being paid, who is complaining about his allowances and his salary. So
how will someone else want to come into that?
Now bring in more people. Where is the fund to pay them? Where is the fund? When the ones you have is like a man having 5 children. You say no, increase it to 7, to 8, to 10.
And you don't have the money to feed 3.
Yet you are not giving enough allocation to those you already have, for them to live a comfortable life. That's where the issue lies. The federal government need to come up with a comprehensive education policy. A lot of people will equally say, Nigeria's education is the cheapest in the world compared to other developed economies.
Okay. So are you talking in terms of naira value against other currencies, or you're talking in terms of local level?
It's part of it. If our education is very cheap, what do we, in order to improve quality and to expand facilities, the federal government really have to come up to say, okay, do we now make it mandatory that students should pay tuition fee? Because whatever any student in a federal institution pays is minuscule, it's small.
It's small.
It doesn't really take care
of the overhead of the university in itself.
So government need massive outlay to be able to fund education. But on the ground that, okay, the developed countries, the tuition fee is very high. If you send your child, your ward outside this country now to go and acquire tertiary institutions.
Even as nearby as Ghana, Benin Republic is expensive.
You know what it will cost you to be able to pay the tuition for that child. So do we now introduce full tuition in tertiary institutions in the country?
That's an option. That's an option.
will argue that, look, for a country that is still developing, where the poverty level is very high, the idea of introducing tuition in federal institutions,
we kind of reduce the numbers of those aspiring.
We want to develop. We want to grow as a country. We want because literacy level is high.
It's on the high side.
So that is why education primarily is is subsidized by the federal government.
Yes.
But the federal government is finding the burden of carrying this subsidized education, heavy. And that is why, in attempt to cut corners, they are refusing to meet up with their own obligation to the school system.
Okay.
So the private sector is now taking advantage of
the anomaly on ground, and they're coming in with
substandard education and all that.
Okay.
So that's where the problem comes. Because many of the people who are filling up this void in the name of private institutions, they are just taking advantage. Many of them, not all of them, they are very good ones, sound ones, whose focus in providing quality education cannot be faulted. But there are those we know that are just in the business to rip their students off.
Okay. At this juncture, because our listeners out there try and follow the trajectory of thought of my brother here, Dr. Austin Maho. He's giving it to us firsthand, because I can say it. He's in the academia too. He's a resource person. He's in the academia too. And what he's telling us right now is he's putting up a call on the government, on all tiers of governance. Federal, state, unfortunately, the local governments are not doing anything really. To chip in more and let us stem this element of proliferation. Because like he rightly said, and like I posited, my position was, why can't we have more students in these universities, the ones that are the big ones? Because let's say every of those big ones, like the ABUs, the UNILAG, the Ibadan, the Insuka, if they can take in 50,000 students, that would be the 200,000 that are being admitted by the whole lot of 170 universities. This looks like simple arithmetic. It's not even mathematics. It's arithmetic, which is on the level of 1 + 1 is 2. Why wouldn't the government do this? I am going to throw another question at him, because for everything that happens in governance, there's always an institution of government that takes care of it, either as progenitors or as a regulatory body. What am I talking about here? Nigerian Universities Commission. We're going to delve into that. Because if you talk about the government will tell you, well, I have an institution that is taking care of that. Yeah. You and talk to the institution. What do you think? Is there a break in synergy between the federal government and the Nigerian Universities Commission for them not to see what you and I are seeing? Or don't they have listening here to listen to ideas and then be able to improve on it? Go ahead, please.
It's why some people, of course, we agree with this idea of proliferation of universities. It's because many of the universities, before you set up a university,
that's right,
you must do a detailed
due diligence
planning,
diligence,
business plan.
Yes.
Is it needed? The location.
Well, forget about is it needed. Everybody wants to set one up.
you do the due diligence.
That's right.
To find out the need.
If there's a need, it's really a need.
Then you create it. Imagine setting up a university of transportation, for instance. What need is it going to cater for? So these are some of the issues. And imagining the national, the NUC, National University Commission, granting a license for such universities. Or every big man, every politician that have access to funds want to set up a university in his town, in his village.
If not in his house.
So what's the need for all that? Do they have the facilities? Do they have the capacity? Do they have the manpower?
The competence?
The competence. What is the focus? These days we talk about not just liberal education, we talk about science education.
That's
ICT.
right. That's right.
You look at the society in Nigeria, for instance, when in terms of manpower, where are we lacking in terms of manpower? It's not just to go to the university, have a degree. At the end of the day, it means nothing.
That's right.
Because there's even the issue that many of the graduates, the Nigerian university system is
churning out
are not employable because they've not been given the right tools that will make them functional in a modern society like Nigeria. So you have unemployable graduates everywhere. And these are the issues the National Open University need to deal with, to find out the deficiencies. And then how would they stem it? Stem in a sense of, look, every university, you should be specialized. It's a back end and front end thing.
Okay.
You look at the labor market.
Okay, and look at what the demand is.
What do they need? They now look at institutions you are setting up, or those coming to you to say, oh, we want to set up investing. And all
then you can guide them and say, do this.
This is the area you should focus on. Every university wants to offer law. Every university wants to do
engineering.
Every university wants to read English. You want to do this, you want to do this. Whereas the jobs are not there. Many companies coming into Nigeria, when they are seeking manpower, is either they are poaching, headhunting.
That's right.
Or they are bringing expatriates.
That's right. Because there's nobody.
Yeah, because 60 years after independence, Nigerian, the employment market, especially when a foreign firm is setting up shop within the country, you still bring in expatriates.
Because they're
Go around road constructions in the country that are being constructed. You find out that
you find expatriates.
Yes, experts. You can tell that they're experts. Is that they are Chinese expert or European experts still supervising black staff in this age and time. It shows that there's a failure in the university system, a failure in the supervisory role the National Open University is supposed to play. Because they are supposed to, within the system, work out a way to make sure that the appropriate manpower is produced through the university system for the, for the employment market.
That's good.
But this is not happening. That is why earlier I said most of these universities being set up to
cater for a need, a demand.
Political ego
of some people.
Let
me add more to what you just said now, because I was at a panel some time back. Just these aspects you made, that of what good is the University of Transportation. The man said, just about what you said. He said, why are we being... He used some kind of languages that are not good for the media. That how on earth can't we have a University of a Greek in, he was using that as an example, yes. University of a Greek in Ondo State that would take care of anything and everything that pertains to cocoa, so that they will grow it, they'll grow it in large numbers, and we will process it, and then we export it. Put students to it. He even ran an inference to what our brother in Africa Development Bank, Additional, said, that the next set of millionaires in Africa will be farmers. Why can't we do stuff like that? Not just open up a university and start asking for lawyers. Are we breeding ourselves to be criminals? That's not the idea.
Yes.
Do something that is specific, that meets a demand.
Yes, solves a problem. That is the idea. It's research. Every university should solve a problem.
That's right.
We know our problem.
Okay.
But are we tuning our university system, our educational system, to solve that problem?
At this juncture, one of the things we're trying to do is my emphasis on specifics. Open up a university for specifics. And I ran an inference which was my takeaway from a forum. Why can't we, for example, have a University of a Greek in Ondo State that takes care of everything and anything that has to do with cocoa and a Greek generally? For God's sake, if we do that, we have the land space more than Ghana. We have the land space more than Ivory Coast. And those are the world beaters when it comes to cocoa production. Ghana these days is telling the Western world, no, we are no longer selling you cocoa. You come and buy processed cocoa. In other words, they've added value to it. They are making more money. Unlike in our own case, we carry cocoa beans, put in a bag, and export. In some cases, by the time it gets there, they refuse it. That because we didn't do this, we didn't do that, we had too much of insecticides or this, and then all they're doing is they want to reduce the price of purchase. Why can't we have an element of specific university training? He just alluded to that. And I guess, can he expatiate on it some more, please? On that element of specific university setup.
Specific specialization. Every university should be specialized.
Good.
We're trying to look at this issue of specialization.
Yes.
Vis-a-vis the role of the NUC.
Yes.
In all of this.
As a regulatory body.
Yes. Because no university operates without an NUC license.
That's true.
So the question you now ask yourself is, what are the criteria NUC uses.
That's right.
You know, when making decision whether to grant a university license or not.
That's true.
So there's a need to go back to the basics because the buck stops on the desk of the NUC.
Yes.
NUC need not to be pressured by the presidency or state governors.
Or whoever the private man
or big politicians before granting license.
They have a template of what to do.
They know what to do. Are those seeking NUC licenses to set up university, whether federal university, state university, or private university, are they making them go through this process, this template to say, okay, you've met the requirement? Having gone through that, there's equally a need for the NUC, for instance, to look at the country as a whole.
What should we put here? What should we put there?
What do we need here?
That's
the
word.
A specialized university.
That's right.
Do we need a university that's, you can do other courses, but we know that the university has bias.
Just like we have MIT.
Yes.
That is highly tech, though they do some other courses too.
But we know what they are specialized in.
Yes, right.
That is what I feel the direction that the NUC should be taking. Look at the 6 geopolitical zones in the country.
Okay.
And say, let's say, look, this university should specialize in this, do other courses. But let's know that when it comes to this,
you're good.
And don't forget that every university is supposed to be a research institution as well.
That's true.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a research institution. But a situation whereby you have an university just admitting students, graduating them, whether they deserve that certificate or not, means nothing to you. It tells that there is a missing link somewhere. And that link is what we are trying to fix with this discussion. Every university should be specialized. And they should, when it comes to the Southwest, like you rightly mentioned, when you are setting up a university or applications are coming for a university to be set up in such areas, there should equally be the need to say, look, we want your university to specialize in this.
Yes.
Cocoa.
That's right.
Rubber. Granite. Sorghum. Root crop. Palm oil. These are key products
that can be taken to specific geopolitical zones.
And say, equally put the backup institution that research into all these crops. Because many of our agricultural research institutions, they are not really doing much. They are just research institutions. But when you set up a university for this purpose with adequate funding, I believe they can do better.
They will be able to maintain their own research in-house.
Yes, in-house with appropriate funding.
Yeah, funding is it. Funding is it. Funding is it.
The issue of funding is still there. And do research that can actually help us as a country to go out of this quagmire that we are facing. This cycle of want to do this, you don't get the result, so you just open the system to anybody that wants to set up a university, and you give the person, because if we are talking about proliferation of universities, and actually these 170 universities across the country, you can say, okay, NUC can defend itself by saying that no, it's not a proliferation. We don't have a situation that
proliferation. It's just because the numbers are higher than the demand is higher than.
Yes, you can now say, okay, this university we granted the license for this purpose. But if we should put NUC here now and say, look, within the last 20 years, you've given licenses for about 100 universities.
More than 100
university within the last 20 years. Justify why you gave XYZ university licenses to operate. Do you think they can do that?
We are not going to hold brief for them. Maybe if we have them on set, we'll be able to ask those questions. Somebody just sent me a text now in terms of what we've been talking about. He said, fine, it's a good idea. Everybody wants to go to ABU, Unilag, Ibadan, Suka, and what have you. And then we were preferring the element of, why can't they increase their numbers? You know, said there are instances, some of those universities do not have enough space to handle such a high number of students. I have an idea, which I guess you are going to share too, which I guess you are going to give us insights to. My question will be, why can't we have universities of the same name, of the same structure, of the same capacity in another different town? Like in America, you can find University of Lagos in Ekpe, or let's say University of Abuja, in different locations, it will just be University of Abuja, Gwagwalada.
Yes, satellite campuses.
Satellite campuses, even outdoors, they are not just satellite. They are universities on its own. I take, for instance, a case in Lagos, and I was joking with a friend. I said, if University of Lagos, that is in Akoka is in central Lagos, Ebute Metta, if University of Lagos can open University of Lagos Lekki, I can assure you that university will be filled with 10,000 students who are ready to pay whatever the fee is. Use that as a backdrop, and let's see, can't we have, because the person who said the space might not be enough, can't we have University of Ibadan somewhere else?
Bola, this is a no-brainer.
I know it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer in the sense that what we are saying, the question, there's an inherent answer in the question he raised.
Funding.
Yes, it's funding and expanding facility.
Yeah.
You cannot say, we are not saying that, look, University of Benin, Suka, ABU, as they are, should admit more students. That's not what we are saying.
Yes.
We are saying fund this institution, you know, increase the manpower, train the manpower, employ more people, expand their facilities.
So that they'll be able to teach those kids.
So that they can, you know, admit more students. That's what we are saying.
That's
we are not saying as they are, admit more.
Okay.
No,
he is listening. The person who threw me that question is listening.
We are saying, and like you added, okay, University of Abuja, why don't you have a campus or another University of Abuja?
Somewhere
Not
else.
just in Gwagwalada, in the 6 area council.
Or maybe just one or two more will be fine.
To cater for more people. But in doing that, you have to increase manpower, you have to infrastructure, you have to develop more infrastructure.
That's right.
You have to do more training.
That's right.
And all comes down to more funding.
That's true. That's true.
And where you fail to do this,
there's a problem on hand.
The situation remains. Or if you say, okay, force the universities to admit more students without increasing their capacity to be able to do that, you are creating a problem. As it is, one of the reasons why myself and yourself got good university education is that when I was in class in my days, the number of students in my set was just about 45.
Which
these days
it's in hundreds.
It's in hundreds. Even in secondary schools.
That's true.
You have hundreds, when in our time it was just 25.
25 maximum. I can remember those rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times maybe 4 or 5.
Yes. But these days, you have one arm having 90 students, 100 students. So in such a situation, you cannot be talking about increasing admission rates when you are not, there's no
capacity to absorb them.
So that is the issue. So it all comes down to funding. It all comes down to regulation.
Yes, right.
It all comes down to employing more qualified lecturers into the university system in order to be able to deal with this situation.
Thank you very much. And to you, our viewers out there, that has been Dr. Austin Maho. He's a research person of the International Institute of Journalism. He's in academia. Little wonder he was able to give us insights that involve specifics about the academia. What we do here on a regular basis is not a case of we know what is happening, we have the explicit info. What we're doing is we are juxtaposing ideas, we're giving it to the powers that be so that we can move forward. Because as the name of our lofty program says, State of the Nation, what we do is to hasten the motions for national development. And as we speak this morning, we've been able to take care of proliferation of our universities. It is not a case of how many we have. It is the quality and the capacity and the funding that matters, based on my brother. My brother, thank you for being my guest this morning.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, my brother.